Nobody gets a free ride. I am not going to overlook stories. This is really funny. I posted this on Twitter, I posted it on Facebook, and I have people on the left going like, wow, thanks Tim for being honest. And it's like, when have I lied? Like, I don't, right? This is a story from the New York Times, has far-right Proud Boys reeling after arrests and scrutiny. And we'll go through the story. But the most important thing, I feel like the lead has been buried a little bit, is that we now have security footage showing definitively the Proud Boys started the fight in New York City. This is contrary to earlier reporting, as well as my reporting and a statement from the New York Police Department. Initially, let me go to the videos first, and then we can read through how they describe things. And I want to talk about my opinion on this stuff. This is the first video we saw, but I want to start with this one just so I don't bury the lead here. We have this video from the New York Times. And you can clearly see this man. He runs towards Antifa. Then they throw a bottle. Let's start again. This guy up on top starts running towards Antifa. They throw a bottle, and then he starts punching. He started running first. And we'll break down the nuance, okay? We'll break it down. This is the original video that we saw. Antifa steps up. Then you see the bottle get thrown. Here he goes. Throws the bottle. And then the dude starts wailing on him. This is the Proud Boy in question. Based on this video, the first one we saw, I said, the New York police said, Antifa started it by throwing a bottle at the guy. However, based on this footage, you can clearly see the dude runs to Antifa first. You see him run straight forward, then they throw the bottle, and he starts punching. I've had people say to me, oh, but Tim, running at someone isn't attacking them, They threw a bottle before he even swung. I'm like, dude, look, I'm not here to say who's right or wrong. We're here to talk about what's legally going to happen and what a reasonable person will believe. So if you want to defend the Proud Boys, you are free to do so, and you're free to disagree. But I'm not here to talk about who I think was right or wrong, right? Certainly people have said, you have to understand how angry these people must have been. They want to go to their private event. All of a sudden, these Antifa people show up. They're threatening them all the time. And so they snap. Sure, okay, I understand. But if you're talking to a courtroom, and this is what they're going to have to do, the jury is going to see him. First of all, the jury's likely not going to know anything about Antifa or the Proud Boys, okay? They're going to see a video where a dude runs full speed at a guy, someone throws a bottle, and the guy running starts hitting. What they're probably going to conclude in the courtroom is the bottle throw is incidental. What we're looking at is the crime committed from the individual running and the person being punched. The guy throwing a bottle is a separate entity. Again, you might want to disagree, and that's fine if you want to defend the Proud Boys because you happen to like them, and the same can be said for people who want to defend Antifa, but one thing remains clear. The court is going to say, we are not here to determine whether or not the man who threw a bottle was right or wrong. We're here to determine whether or not this man committed an offense by charging at and then punching a separate person, okay? You can't say that this Proud Boy was acting in self-defense because the guy who threw the bottle was not the one targeted. I've had some people say running at someone isn't assault, and actually that's true in New York City, so by all means have that argument. In Illinois, assault is typically when you put someone in reasonable fear of harm. Battery is physical contact or contact in a humiliating manner. So spitting on someone can be battery in Illinois. New York, however, assault only occurs when you actually inflict damage. That means if you go up to someone and touch their arm or give them a light smack, not assault because you didn't cause any actual damage to the person. It's complicated. I've dealt with this, and the police have refused to press charges when people have actually grabbed me and shoved me and things like that. They say no, it's not assault, and maybe they're wrong. Maybe the police don't understand. But in this instance, you're gonna have to tell me, if you want to defend the Proud Boys, that a jury won't see this man running full speed. He stops, looks back, turns around, and then it's not full speed. Okay, that's wrong. But he sombers forward at a decent pace and then starts swinging. That is probably going to convince any reasonable person who doesn't know who these people are, what's about, that this man was seeking to initiate the attack. The New York Times says video shows Proud Boys initiated fight. So this is important. You don't look. A lot of people have argued. Someone tweeted at me. It doesn't matter who started it when you see Antifa start swinging. Yeah, that's literally Antifa's rhetoric. It doesn't matter. Don't use violence against the Nazis. That's what they say, and they'll call the Proud Boys the Nazis. My response to that is, if you think that you should initiate a fight, here's what's going to happen. You're going to see some dudes wearing hoodies, and then you're going to assume it's Antifa, and you're going to start swinging. And maybe it won't be. And this is what Antifa does, and this is why they're bad. In Portland, they bashed some Bernie supporter over the head for having an American flag. In Boston, there was an old woman carrying an American flag, and they ripped it out of her hands and dragged her on the ground as she desperately tried to hang on to it. We all know about the bike lock basher. It happens. Antifa targets innocent people. These far leftists, not even necessarily like Antifa, but like violent far leftists, will target innocent people and accusing them. We got Philly. They saw the Marines and said, "Are you proud?" And the guy's like, "Huh? I'm a Marine." And they were like, "Are you proud, boys?" And they were like, "What?" And then they started beating up on him. That's why you don't just start randomly attacking people. I'm all for self-defense, but you also have to recognize that bottle throw could be seen as an act of defense of others, because this dude who's a Proud Boy, they know who each other are, who each other is, or whatever, is jogging towards them, so he throws a bottle at them. I'm sure the Proud Boys will argue that he was going towards the guy but wasn't intending on hitting him until he got hit with the bottle. Sure, but again, it's going to end up being the person who threw the bottle is not who you ended up swinging at. You could argue that you were trying to maybe like run past them. The guy threw a bottle at you, so you started fighting, but then it would make more sense if you started fighting the guy who threw the bottle, which he didn't. Well, let's read what the New York Times has to say about everything that's going on. I don't necessarily want to read through the whole article, but I thought it's important to bring up this footage. And, look, whatever the circumstances are, not my opinion one way or the other. I understand that Antifa is ridiculously frustrating, attacking innocent people all the time. But look, you have to understand that the media doesn't report on what Antifa does for the most part. Some sites do. Sometimes it does happen. It happened back in the day. Like, I went on MSNBC after I got attacked by some black anarchist types. But this means that scrutiny is going to be heavily applied to the right, whether they're right or wrong. And that means you got to play on hard mode. That means you don't get to start these fights. Never. You don't, and even to a certain extent, acting in self-defense was bad news for these guys. And then beyond that, they started kicking the dudes while they're on the ground. You've got a media spotlight on you, desperately trying to prove that you're the bad guy. Well, that's hey, life's not fair. It's not. You can beg all day and night that you want life to be fair. It won't be. Which means you got to figure out how to navigate the system, and that means if these dudes somber over, I don't want to say he was running full speed. It was hyperbolic. But you can clearly see he turns around and starts increasing his speed. It's not a I wouldn't call it a jog or a run, but he's got an increased speed and then starts wailing on the guy. Okay, they're gonna lose this one, in my opinion. Got to take a plea or something. They say, after his appearance in Manhattan led to a brawl, the founder of a far-right group, the Proud Boys, said it was a little more than a fun, silly men's club that had defended itself against an attack by leftist protesters. But 2 months later, as prosecutors move ahead with charges, the all-male Proud Boys group is in disarray. 10 members have been arrested in connection with the violence, charged with riot and attempted assault as part of an investigation into their activities. The Proud Boys have been widely condemned as a hate group. Facebook and Instagram have banned the group. The Southern Poverty Law Center has labeled it a hate group. An organization called the New York City Antifa, whose members describe themselves as anti-fascist, has named the Proud Boys who were involved in the violence and has posted details about their lives on Twitter. Look, doxing is wrong. They've doxed them. Apparently, that's a violation of like most terms of service for most social media websites. I want to point out a few things here. I don't necessarily want to read through the whole thing. It points out Gavin McInnes, like he backed away, stepped down. Joe Rogan talked about how it was supposed to be a silly thing and it's kind of grown out of control. First, as to the Proud Boys, they're routinely smeared. I don't think it's fair to call them a hate group because select members of the very large group have done things that are bad. But I will say that what do you expect is going to happen when you get a bunch of rowdy dudes together who go out, who start drinking out together? Like, they have a group. They feel powerful. They get angry, and then Antifa shows up to their event, so they take it out on them. Because this one, so another important thing to be made about this video. This guy who sombered forward, I think it's a dumb word, but he's clearly not. I don't think it's fair to say he's running necessarily when you look at it, because he's not really running. It's like a jog, and they start swinging. He just basically made everybody look bad. It's one guy. That's an important thing we need to consider. The difficult thing with Antifa is that they purposefully hide their identities so you don't know who the one guy is. And that's why there's a dramatic difference. All Proud Boys did not engage in this fight. Plain and simple. Some did. That was wrong of them. Kicking the dudes on the ground was wrong, and therefore they're facing criminal court. Plain and simple. This dude who started the fight shouldn't have done it. But there is a difference. Antifa is now doxing people. One of the main problems too here is that if the Antifa guys who got beat up stayed and gave a statement, this would have all come out immediately. We didn't know that. So they play this silly game where they don't share information but then complain that people like me say they started the fight. Because this was the only video we had in the beginning. That you see them throw a bottle, here you go, and then the swinging starts. But you can also see, this is another really important takeaway too. Now that we know that this Proud Boy is the guy who actually engaged them, you want to, okay, I'll say this. You want to say he didn't initiate the fight? He definitely engaged them first. They did not run towards him. He jogged towards them. Take a look at this dude. Okay, when the Proud Boy comes in, this guy throws a bottle. This dude just ducks. He goes down. Starts just covering himself. He's not fighting back. He's just getting beat up, right? I think you got to consider that. If you want to point out that Antifa are not good fighters and they typically get whomped on, then you also need to consider that the Proud Boys know they can beat him up. And they did, and this guy barely fought back, if at all. And then they got stomped while they were on the ground. So, look, you know what, man? I'll say this right now. You want to watch my YouTube videos? These videos come out, I'm going to tell you exactly what happens. I'm not here to justify one political group over the other. I think all political violence is wrong. And I'll say this, too, for the Proud Boys. They show up to a lot of events to defend free speech and all that, but at a certain point, you're confronted with a challenge. Antifa is wrong to initiate violence against Proud Boys, Patriot Prayer, whoever else is exercising their First Amendment. But you have to recognize at a certain point, while I wouldn't say the overwhelming majority of responsibility falls on the right, you are always allowed to go out and speak and everything, but you do have to recognize these fights will happen. And I have been told by Proud Boys they know the fights will happen and they're looking forward to them. And that's when you can say, maybe it's going too far, and you should try and figure out a different way to go about things because fights will just end up happening. It's not the fault of the Proud Boys when Antifa starts a fight, by no means. In this instance, I will absolutely say, in my opinion, Proud Boys started this one. Is it fair to say they were frustrated and antagonized by Antifa? Absolutely. But I'll tell you what, free speech means that Antifa is allowed to show up to your event and yell about you. And that means if they yell about you, you are not allowed to go to jog up to them and then start hitting on a guy who's blocking and not fighting back. Like, it's clear cut here, man. You know, everybody wants to be tribal. I'm not here to take anybody's side on any matter. You start a fight, you're wrong for the most part. You can initiate a fight in some instances for self-defense, like if this guy was claiming to do something, so they try and stop him, sure, maybe. It's not that, right? These guys got into a fight, afterwards started, bragging about it and laughing about it. And now a lot of these guys are in trouble for it. In fact, a lot of the videos, these guys posted videos about it. Afterwards, they deleted those videos. There's some Facebook videos, Twitter videos that got deleted because I think they realized they were in trouble here. Even Gavin McInnes stepping away from the Proud Boys to try and help them. They're facing real charges, and this evidence is not going to help them. So you know what? Yeah, I know I said in the beginning I wasn't going to necessarily give my opinion, but I have little tolerance for people who initiate or engage in this kind of activity. I'm not going to say one group is worse than the... Actually, I'll take that back. Antifa, in my opinion, is substantially worse than the Proud Boys, but I don't think the Proud Boys are deserving of praise when you see videos like this. It's complicated. There are some Antifa people who are good. There are some Proud Boy people who are fine. You can't blame the entirety of the group because of the actions of individuals. Antifa has the issue where they act as a collective and hide their masks, so you don't know who the individuals are. I think the blame for this one falls on these dudes specifically. The blame for any fights that were initiated by Proud Boys fall on those Proud Boys specifically. And I think it's so dumb that simply because they wear the same shirt, you're going to act like there's like an organization, because it's barely an organization. But I will also add, this has a lot of potential for getting out of control. And you better recognize you do not want violent escalation. You want things to chill down. Anyway, I don't know. It's complicated. Admittedly, I'm not a fan of either group. I think with this incident in New York, the Proud Boys have done nothing but damage their own cause. And I think, look, to the people who like them, you need to recognize, like, nobody's perfect. I got a lot of people tweeting at me saying, so what, they were in the right? And I'm like, nah, I don't play that. That's not right. Anyway, I don't want to keep rambling. It's complicated, whatever. I'll see you guys tomorrow.